Welcome to Finance Deep Dive. So here's the big question we're tackling today. Is the United States on the verge of a brand new long-term economic boom? Some analysts are looking at the data and seeing all the signs of a powerful, sustained expansion on the horizon. But is it for real, or is it just a bit of wishful thinking? Let's dig in and really break down the arguments, both for and against. Okay, so first things first. Before we can even start to debate whether a supercycle's actually happening, we've got to be on the same page. We need to know what that term really means. Right, so a supercycle isn't your typical up and down, boom and bust business cycle. No, we're talking about something much bigger, a powerful, decades-long wave of growth that can fundamentally reshape the entire economic landscape. So what fuels these things? Well, one of the key drivers is a massive technological shift. Think about the Industrial Revolution, or maybe something more recent, like the dawn of the digital age. And it's not just tech. It's also driven by a huge surge in investment. We're talking about capital just pouring into brand new industries and infrastructure, completely changing the game for how things get made. And the end result, it's not just a little more growth. We're talking about a total transformation of everything: productivity, labor markets, and even a country's place on the global stage. It's a really big deal. All right, so with that definition in our back pocket, what's the actual evidence that a new supercycle could be starting right now? The case for yes really stands on three main pillars. Pillar number one is this massive resurgence in capital investment. There's a really strategic push going on to bring manufacturing and industrial capacity back to the US. And what's absolutely crucial here is where all this money is going. We're seeing huge sums from both the public and private sectors getting funneled into these really foundational industries, like semiconductor manufacturing and clean energy. Okay, the second pillar? This one's a biggie: technological transformation. And this should definitely ring a bell, right? Because it's a classic driver of supercycles we've seen in the past. And right at the heart of this whole transformation is, you guessed it, artificial intelligence. The potential for AI and automation to just unlock incredible efficiency gains across literally every single sector, well, that's a huge cornerstone of the pro-supercycle argument. And that brings us to pillar number three: America's completely transformed energy position. This is a total game changer, and it's a pretty new development, historically speaking. I mean, for the first time in generations, the U.S. is a dominant energy producer. This energy independence gives the country a stable and often cheaper foundation for industrial growth. It basically insulates the economy from a lot of external shocks. But hold on, it's not all clear skies and sunshine. We have to look at the other side of the coin here. There are some major headwinds that could easily derail this whole optimistic narrative. Okay, a huge concern is demographics. The population is aging and the workforce isn't growing as fast as it used to. That puts a natural cap on how fast the economy can expand. I mean, with fewer workers, you need absolutely massive productivity gains just to keep the momentum going. Then you've got the government's balance sheet. The US is carrying a lot of public debt, and now that interest rates are higher, that debt is getting more and more expensive. That could really squeeze out the funding needed for future investments, both public and private. And on top of that, there's the whole question of sustainability. Look, for a supercycle to really last, the benefits have to be shared pretty widely. If rising inequality just keeps going, it can really put a damper on consumer demand and even undermine the social stability you need for that kind of long-term growth. And finally, let's talk about supply chains. While bringing them back home definitely builds resilience, it's not a free lunch. Moving away from those hyper-efficient global supply chains can mean higher costs, and that can lead to inflationary pressure, which, you guessed it, slows down growth. So, okay, we've got these powerful forces pushing and pulling against each other. How does today's situation really stack up against the great economic booms we've seen in the past? Well, if you look at past booms, like the one right after World War II, they were fueled by this massive demographic tailwind, tons of young workers, and huge reconstruction projects. Today, we definitely have that technological spark, but we're running smack into the headwinds of an aging population and some pretty tight government budgets. All right, let's bring it all home. After weighing all the powerful arguments for a new supercycle against some of these really serious headwinds, what's the final verdict? Well, it seems like the key ingredients for a new era of growth are definitely on the table. But a full-blown, decades-long supercycle, that is anything but guaranteed. The potential is absolutely there, but so are the risks. It's a real toss-up. Success really boils down to a few critical questions. Is technology like AI actually going to deliver those widespread productivity gains across the whole economy? Can we really keep up this high level of investment for the long haul? And maybe the most important question of all, can we make sure this growth actually benefits everyone, making it truly sustainable? So that leaves us with the one critical question we all need to keep our eyes on. Are we really at the dawn of a new transformative era for the US economy? Or is this just a false dawn, right before we settle back into a much slower trend? The answer to that question is going to shape the entire coming decade. If you like the content, don't forget to subscribe to Finance Deep Dive. It motivates us to keep posting.